Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into one of the most critical shifts happening in modern technology right now. We're going to unpack Anthropic's 2026 discussions surrounding their AI model Claude, alongside systems like Mythos and advanced coding agents. This whole discussion reveals a massive transition in frontier intelligence. We are officially moving away from the era where AI just answers our questions or acts as a helpful little assistant to programmers. Instead, we're entering a phase where AI is actively building itself. To govern this new reality, we absolutely need a new framework, and that is what we call the energetic paradigm. To really wrap your head around the scale of this shift, consider this. By May 2026, Claude was writing more than 80% of Anthropic's merged code. Over 80%. That is a jarring reality check. AI is no longer sitting on the sidelines offering polite suggestions. It has crossed the threshold to become an operational participant directly inside the production loop that creates the next generation of AI systems.
So here is our roadmap for today's deep dive. We'll start by looking at AI entering the production loop, explore the structural dangers of uncontrolled speed, and see why basic harness engineering just isn't enough anymore. Then, we'll break down the energetic paradigm framework, its structured research architecture, and how it actually keeps humans in meaningful control.
Let's kick things off with part 1. AI enters the production loop.
We really need to establish the new operational reality of frontier AI development. As detailed in this overview paper on Anthropic's self-improvement discussion, the role of the AI agent has fundamentally evolved. Claude is now actively improving engineering throughput, running complex debugging cycles, and seriously accelerating experiments. It's rapidly approaching the boundary where agents can design, test, and revise parts of the AI research process itself. It's essentially moved from a simple text generator to a full-blown operational research agent.
And the level of autonomy here is just wild. We aren't talking about basic autocompletes. Claude demonstrated real operational agency by autonomously investigating a massive training task failure. It dug into running jobs, localized a hidden debug flag, reproduced the issue, and proposed a stable fix. And it did the whole shebang in roughly 2 hours. In a totally separate instance, it submitted hundreds of fixes that practically crushed an entire class of API errors, reducing them by orders of magnitude.
So, what does this actually mean for the pipeline? It means the AI is now sitting right inside a recursive self-improvement loop. The AI model generates code, which runs experiments, which inevitably require debugging, leading to evaluation, which then literally informs the creation of the next, even more capable model. Intelligence is participating in its own production.
Which brings us to part 2, the danger of uncontrolled speed.
Now, you might be thinking, hey, faster AI development sounds great. But this transition introduces a profound structural vulnerability. The real danger isn't merely that the AI is getting faster or smarter. The danger is that speed completely changes the structure of the whole system. When AI accelerates, the bottlenecks don't magically disappear, they shift. They move from writing code to reviewing code, from running experiments to interpreting the results, from generating fixes to actually verifying regressions, and from human supervision to a total loss of meaningful control. When the system improves the machinery that produces the next system, hidden regressions can pile up fast. Plus, if competing labs want to initiate a unilateral pause out of caution, without a stable way to trace these incredibly fast changes, that pause becomes entirely unverifiable.
Moving right along to part 3, beyond basic harness engineering.
To tackle this speed issue, we have to recognize why our current safety tools are fundamentally falling short. A conventional harness merely hands in AI tools, file access, logs, and memory. That's necessary, sure, but a basic harness actually creates more action paths and boundary risks. It makes failure happen faster and makes it harder to inspect. In stark contrast, the energetic paradigm, or EP, doesn't just hand over a toolbox. EP control engineering asks, what are those tools actually allowed to change? What evidence must they produce? What constraints must they obey? And what failure states do they preserve?
Enter part 4, the energetic paradigm framework. We need to stop viewing the energetic paradigm as just a safety cage. It is a full reasoning, research, and intelligence architecture. EP treats intelligence as organized transformation. Look at how it builds this structure. A goal gradient prevents the system from just blindly optimizing for raw speed. A tool map restricts environmental access so capability growth stays bounded. An evidence ledger forces the system to connect every single claim to reproducible tests. And crucially, a failure state memory archives regressions, dead ends, and negative results so the system can't just sweep inconvenient leakage or reward hacking under the rug.
The framework is then reinforced by a deductive reasoning spine. This acts as a diagnosis system, disciplining the logic and forcing every claim to connect directly to mechanism, evidence, and constraint. Then you have a boundary gate that acts as a governance system, defining exact pause triggers, self-modification rules, and who can change what. Finally, the human in control node ensures humans retain ultimate deployment authority. This is the beauty of EP. It doesn't reject acceleration. It absorbs that acceleration into a stable structure. AI agents can move faster, but only when the evidence flow and boundary gates can still support that speed.
Let's look at Part 5, Structured EP Research Architecture.
Beyond just serving as a control and governance system, EP is essentially a highly disciplined intelligence and production pipeline. It forces the system to move methodically. We go from uncertainty to generating a formal hypothesis, to designing rigorous tests, explicitly diagnosing failures, tracing the mechanism, collecting hard evidence, and only then outputting a paper-grade claim. It converts recursive AI self-improvement from an out-of-control acceleration race into a structured transformation from uncertainty to justified knowledge. This pipeline is an absolute game-changer. It ensures the AI doesn't just vomit out long, messy documents of experiments that no human has the time or energy to decipher. Instead, it generates auditable, rebuttal-aware argumentation. It forces proper baselines, includes negative results, and outlines limitations that can actually survive rigorous expert peer review. EP literally turns recursive work into top journal-grade reproducible research outputs.
Finally, Part 6, Human in Meaningful Control.
In an era where AI is building AI, we absolutely have to redefine the role of the human overseer. Let's be real, human attention is scarce. As these loops get faster, we have to completely abandon the weak concept of human in the loop. If an AI is writing, testing, and reviewing code at lightning speed, a human just trying to keep up and rubber stamp a flood of outputs is not in control. Actually, scratch that. It's barely even an illusion of control. We must shift to human in control. This means designing the whole system so human judgment is stationed precisely where it matters, defining the goals, setting the risk thresholds, and holding the unquestionable authority to hit the pause button.
So, to bring this all together, look at the stark contrast. Anthropic has shown us that AI is beginning to help build AI. Without the energetic paradigm, recursive self-improvement is just a high-speed runaway loop that corrupts its own evidence chain. You get faster code, sure, but at the cost of hidden regressions and weak reviews. But with EP, recursive self-improvement becomes a disciplined, auditable research organism. It generates, tests, remembers, and improves without losing the structure needed for real knowledge and safety.
As we've seen, this technology already has operational agency. So, I want to leave you with this final, critical thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. As we rush headfirst into the future, are our current systems merely accelerating raw computation blindly into the unknown, or are they deliberately structured to build reliable, governable knowledge? How we answer that question will absolutely define the future of frontier intelligence. Thanks for hanging out and exploring this with me today.